Hello, everybody in the vinyl community. How you doing? Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day. It's Mother's Day in the U.S. anyway. I don't know about other countries or whatever. This week I wanted to talk about concept albums. I was listening to one of the best ones of all time, in my opinion, and decided to kind of go with the theme this week that I'd be listening to some concept albums. I could think of a few I had in my collection right off the top of my head, and I looked some up, and some of them came up that I didn't even think about being concept albums at all, really. Uh, but, I listened to a couple of them. Some of them I thought maybe overarching themes. What is a concept album? Does it tell a story? Is it just an overarching theme? Some of them are more story oriented. Some of them I was reading on one, which I didn't really think is a concept album, but I listened to last night, Iron Maiden Killers. If you go on to like some Maiden threads, they talk about Killers being sort of a concept album because every song is about a killer of some kind or another. So I guess that kind of makes sense. But it was more of an overarching theme, sort of like how Sgt. Pepper's is kind of an overarching theme. I wouldn't necessarily call it a concept album. But I didn't listen to Sgt. Pepper's because, this is a vinyl community and everybody's talked about Sgt. Pepper's at one point in time or another, and so have I. So the first one that I was kind of thrown by was this right here, Jackson Browne's Running on Empty. This copy is from 1977, Specialty Press. You could also put this down as like a first listen for me. This is one of the ones that was found in my, in my dumpster find. I've never played before, never really a huge Jackson Browne fan. It does have Running on Empty on it, obviously. There's your track listing. Apparently, this song was written while on the road, and it's about life on the road. So the overarching theme of this record is that. They say it's a concept record, but I don't know if he planned it as a concept or not. It's a pretty good record. Singer-songwriter style songs, Jackson Browne sold lots and lots of records. This is a really good record. It's a really good album. I like it a lot. Not overall my style, probably won't get a ton of listens, but I did enjoy it. In a very good shape for 1977. Pretty good record, and I could recommend it, especially if you're into that type of sound. Another one. This one is obviously a concept record. Styx, Kilroy Was Here. Basically, it's about a futuristic world where rock and roll is deemed illegal, and using the robots, the Mr. Robotos, Kilroy escapes from jail and does this great show at Paradise Theater and saves the world or whatever. This is a really good record. I like it a lot. I can see where they I could see where James Young and Tommy Shaw were kind of sick of Dennis DeYoung shit by the time this record come out. It's pretty cool. This gatefold's got the story inside of it of what was going on with the record. The inner sleeve's in pretty good shape. I just bought this record myself about, I don't know, I think it was last year sometime. It was in a store. This guy had a whole bunch of records in this store, but it's almost like he was just pricing them without going over what the quality of the record is or whatever. So I had two copies of that in my hand. One was like $9 and one was like, they were both the same price. I think they were $12 or whatever. Well, I pulled the inner sleeve out of the one that was in bad shape and put it in the one that was in good shape and kind of helped myself. It's a pretty good record, but I do see how, like I said, Tommy Shaw and James Young were like, well, we want to play more rock and roll rather than this type of thing here. All right, here's another one. Thick as a Brick, Jethro Tull. Is this a concept record? Yes, it is. It's one giant long song. This one's all chewed up and beat up. I got it for like $5. It does have the newspaper inside of it. The overarching concept, I think, of this record is the story of this town or whatever. But overall, Toll had just come off of Aqualung, and everybody was talking about how Aqualung was a concept album, and they were like, no, we didn't write a concept record. It just kind of looks that way from the outside, but Aqualung is not a concept record. So kind of to make a joke out of it, they wrote Thick as a Brick. This album's brilliant. The music is great. Like I said, it's one continuous song, 45 minutes long, but this album's great, and the musical prowess of those guys is unbelievable. Honestly, it's great. It really is. Whether it's a concept album is telling a story or not, I'm not sure. I think this is up for interpretation. I think they wrote it, according to what I was reading, they wrote it to kind of make fun of concept records, and they wrote this, and it's great. I like it a lot, and when I found this copy, I've only had this one for about 6 months, and like you said, it's all chewed up. It looks like a mouse got to it. I think I gave $5. The record still sounds awesome though. The record's in really good shape. It's just the cover that got kind of hammered. So it was worth the $5. And of course, then I saw it like a week later in way better shape for like another $10. So, all right, here's another one. Now, this one's telling us a story. David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, Rise and Fall, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. This is a Walmart edition that I bought, 2020. Originally comes out in 1972. This is really good. I like this label. I like how this Bowie looks like an old RCA logo. What can you say about this? Most of us probably have this in our collection. If you're not a huge Bowie fan, it seems like something you have to have. It's one of those essential albums that people always talk about. So that's why I bought it, honestly. I prefer, my favorite Bowie album is Let's Dance, but that's my age and era of when I came to Bowie. But this is really good. Story of a rock star and the spiders from Mars, who, the Starman who comes from another planet to save the world. We have 5 years left before the world ends, is how this album starts. And it talks about Ziggy Stardust coming down and trying to save the world, but then his ego gets in the way and it kind of destroys everything and it doesn't really work. It's sort of, I think they kind of took the idea of Robert Hyland's Stranger in a Strange Land, which is an excellent book if you've never read it. It's only about yay thick, so you could probably get it read in a couple days if you're a reader. And then listen to this and you can kind of maybe see some of the same ideas. But I think this is a really good record, obviously. Most people would probably agree. So now I'm going to bring up an album that's a little controversial, but it is purely a concept album that tells a story. It's only controversial to people who, casual Kiss fans. The Elder. I have 2 copies of The Elder. This is my original. This is a Japanese press. I love this record. I'm a Kiss fan, of course. You guys all know that. I love this record. I think it's excellent. It's a great story about a boy who was born to be the hero. The world's in imbalance, and the Order of the Rose, they always tend to rise up when evil is starting to overpower and somebody is chosen who is born. And this is a story of that boy and the Order of the Rose and the bad guy, Mr. Blackwell, and how the struggles of the boy coming to terms with how he's supposed to be the savior of the world or whatever. And he takes his oath and he believes in himself. And then the album ends and it's a great story. It's a great album. It's just not a great Kiss album when it comes to the style of what Kiss was playing. This is way, way, way out in left field for these guys. But this is a great record. It's got great musicianship. Technically, Ace's last album with Kiss, great guitar work. He's got a cool song called Dark Light on here. Overall, I like this album a lot. A lot of people do not. They think, oh, what the hell was Kiss trying to do? But I think it's a really good album, really good musicianship, great story. Like I said, totally out of left field for Kiss. But as a Kiss fan, I've always loved that record. It was one of the first ones that I owned back in the day when I was a teenager and I was buying records. Of course, when I got into Kiss, that album was only a couple of years old, so it was one of the newer things. So me hearing it early and then going back and buying all their older stuff and then living through the 80s, to me, The Elder was not that far out of the way. King Diamond, them. And I know King Diamond, Abigail's the one everybody talks about, which is another concept album, but this is the one for me that hit me due to age when it came out. I've always loved this record. Great story. Grandma comes home. There's people in the attic, the invisible guest, and all that. And grandma starts taking over the house with the magical teapot, and mom ends up dying, and Missy ends up dying, and the child king ends up killing grandma, and they think he's insane and everything else. I think this is a great record. King Diamond, of course, that operatic voice and those octave ranges that he has, a great band that plays along with them. And I really like this one. This is a re-release from, 2020. I think they did really cool. I think it's freaking awesome looking. I think if you can get your hands on this, it sounds really good. It's a really good press. I'm really impressed with it. I like this album a lot. I don't have a whole lot of King Diamond and stuff in my collection. I have a few of these. I'm looking to get Abigail. I just haven't got it yet. But I had to buy this as soon as I started collecting records again, because I always loved this record all the way through and through. And I am unprepared. My next record I was going to talk about was Pink Floyd The Wall, which I listened to last night and I put away and don't have in my stack here. So I'm not going to walk over there and dig it out and make you guys watch me move around my room. Pink Floyd The Wall. I have the 2016 repress of it. It's done very well. Nice packaging. It's got good hard inner sleeves. It's got lyrics on it. It's, all the animation on the, gatefold and everything else. And to me, Pink Floyd The Wall is probably one of the greatest concept albums of all time. Of course, it came out in 79. The movie comes out in 82. I'm in high school in the 80s, and I've probably seen that movie 100 times or more. We used to watch it on a regular basis, especially one summer when me and my buddies were, basically it'd be Saturday night and let's take some LSD and watch The Wall. And I probably did that more times than I can count. I'm surprised sometimes when I look back at all the crazy stuff I used to do that I'm still alive to be here talking to you guys today. But the thing is with The Wall for me, because I saw the movie so many times and that album was essential for us growing up. We listened to The Wall all the time, and the story and everything that went with it, and seeing the movie so many times. Every time I listen to that record, I can see it in my head. I can see what's going on the screen and everything else. And I think it's a great story that goes all the way through, basically about a rock star, the pressures of the road and everything else are getting to him, and his childhood and his overprotective mom, and his wife is cheating on him, and he starts to lose his mind and go crazy, and basically goes nuts and gets put on trial and everything else. Of course, in my opinion, it's all in his head. Everything's in his head. There is no trial. There was no fascism or anything that happens in the movie. I don't think that happened in real life. I think it's all in his brain. And then he has to tear down the wall. You've been sentenced to be exposed before your peers and everything else. To me, it's one of the greatest concept albums of all time is Pink Floyd The Wall. Sorry, I don't have it to show it to you. A lot of us record collectors probably have that in your collection. If you haven't listened to it in a while, sit down, put it on, and listen to it. Listened to it last night. My kid was hanging out with me, and he was like, what are we listening to? I'm like, we're going to listen to Pink Floyd The Wall so I can kind of familiarize myself again with it, even though honestly I could tell that story without even hearing it again. I've listened to it and seen the movie so many times. But he thought it was great. He thought it was, of course he wasn't catching on to the whole story, and I was trying to, move him along. He'd never seen the movie or anything else. But he thought the musicianship was good. The songwriting were good. It had cool tunes and had this cool overarching feel. How the songs kind of blend into each other and the way they tell the story and the throwbacks and everything else. It's a really good record. Definitely 5 out of 5 stars. Of course, with Pink Floyd, you could pick almost any record and call it a concept record. But to me, The Wall is the one that really stands out. Is Dark Side of the Moon a concept album? Maybe. It has an overarching theme. Wish You Were Here. Yeah, I think that's a concept album also. At least it has this major overarching theme, but The Wall is telling a story, giving us a story, backdrops, backgrounds, and everything else. Speaking of stories, now I'm going to finish out with what, in my opinion, is the greatest concept album of all time. Right here, Queensryche Operation Mindcrime came out in 1990 or 1988. This is a 2021 repress. It's done really well. The only thing I wish it would have been a gatefold. It's not a gatefold. It is a double record. They did put it on 2 records. It's real heavy duty, cool sleeves, and But to me, Mindcrime, this album gives me goosebumps every time I listen to it. I think this is a great, great record. Story of a guy who gets involved in a conspiracy while the world is basically falling apart politically. Gets involved with Dr. X, becomes like basically a soldier for his army. There's a priest, there's a nun. There were music videos that went along with this. This album was everywhere when I was in high school. And it was, and it's great. The vocals and the music and everything else, I'd be hard pressed. It's either this or The Wall, but I really think this is probably the greatest concept album of all time, in my opinion. The story's awesome. I would love to have seen this made into a movie, but I guess that never happened. Um, but great songs, Eyes of a Stranger, and I Don't Believe in Love, and all these great radio hits on there. That's the cool thing about this and The Wall both. They had singles that could come off of this overarching storyline and still be great singles and help sell records. But when you listen to the whole album from start to finish, you're basically getting this great story being told. And I've seen the Mindcrime live before, which was cool. They acted it out on stage with actors and actresses while the band is playing. It was pretty awesome. That was a pretty cool experience. That happened later, didn't happen when this happened. I saw that probably in about 05 or something like that. But Operation Mindcrime, to me, is one of the greatest concept albums of all time. Of course, all of this is just my opinion, so you guys can chime in if you'd like. What do you think? Sorry I didn't have my copy of The Wall. I don't know what happened last night after listening to it. I must have just put it away and didn't put it in my stack of prepared materials. So, all right, that's pretty much it for me. Give your moms hugs and tell them you love them. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great week. Happy Mother's Day once again to all. We'll talk to y'all next week.